I worked the front desk at a hostel in Melbourne when an American family checked in at 9 a.m. on a Sunday. The father asked where the nearest Starbucks was. I told him the closest cafe was 2 blocks away, but it wouldn't open until 10. He stared at me like I'd announced a natural disaster. "It's Sunday morning," he said. "This is prime coffee time. Why would a business close during peak hours?" I explained that most cafes in Melbourne open around 10 on Sundays because, well, it's Sunday. He shook his head. "That's why Australia's economy is struggling. No work ethic." I didn't have the heart to tell him our minimum wage was almost triple his. At a pharmacy in Sydney, an American asked if we sold Adderall over the counter. When I said no, it's prescription only and heavily regulated, she looked genuinely confused. "But I need it for work," she said. "I have 3 meetings this week." I told her that wasn't how it worked here. She asked if I could recommend something similar. I suggested coffee. She was not amused. These stories barely scratch the surface. I've worked hospitality across 4 Australian cities, and I've got dozens more of these. If you want the full anthropological deep dive into why these collisions keep happening, not just the laughs, but the actual psychology behind work-obsessed cultures, I break down one cultural pattern every week. Subscribe if you think context beats comedy. I was bartending at a pub in Brisbane when an American businessman sat down and immediately opened his laptop. It was 8 p.m. on a Friday. He ordered a beer and asked for the Wi-Fi password. I gave it to him. 20 minutes later, he flagged me down and complained the internet was unusable. I checked it was fine. He pointed at his screen, showing a failed video call. "I need to join this meeting. It's important." I asked if his colleagues knew he was in Australia. "Yeah, why?" I explained that it was 6 a.m. on Friday in New York. He said, "Exactly. Start of the business day. This is when real work happens." He spent 30 minutes trying to reconnect while his beer went warm. When he finally gave up, he asked if we had a more professional establishment nearby. I recommended his hotel room. He left a review saying our pub wasn't serious about supporting remote workers. A woman from Texas asked our Melbourne cafe if we had to-go cups. We did. She ordered a flat white and a muffin. I made her coffee. She asked why I wasn't bagging her muffin separately. I told her it was already on a plate. "But I'm taking it to go," she said. I offered to wrap it. She looked frustrated. "No, I need it in a separate bag with napkins and a fork." I explained we don't really do that. Most people just eat here or carry the plate for a block. She stared. "So you expect me to walk down the street holding a ceramic plate?" I suggested she could sit for 10 minutes. "I don't have time. I'm on a schedule." She took the plate, walked outside, ate standing on the footpath for 90 seconds, came back in, handed me the plate, and said, "See? Efficiency." She'd spent more time arguing than it would have taken to sit down. I worked at a gym in Perth when an American asked about our membership options. I explained. "No lock-in contracts. Cancel any time. $40 per week." He looked suspicious. What's the catch? There wasn't one. He asked about peak hours. I said mornings before work and evenings after work were busiest. He asked what time people usually came in the morning. I said around 6 or 7 a.m. His face lit up. "Perfect. I'll come at 5 a.m. to beat the crowd." I told him we opened at 6. He blinked. "Your gym doesn't open until 6 a.m.? I confirmed. He asked when we closed. I said 8 p.m. weekdays, 6 p.m. weekends. He actually laughed. How is anyone supposed to maintain a fitness routine with those hours? I mentioned that most people manage. He shook his head. This explains a lot about Australia's productivity. He didn't join. An American couple checked into our hotel in Cairns and asked what time breakfast started. I said 7 a.m. The husband nodded. "And it runs until..." I said 10 a.m. His wife frowned. "Only until 10? What if we want to sleep in?" I said that's pretty standard. Most people finish breakfast by then. She looked at her husband. "See? This is what I meant about vacation culture being different here." He asked if we did room service. We did. "What time does that start?" I said 7 a.m., so room service has the same hours as the restaurant. I confirmed. His wife threw up her hands. Then what's the point of room service? I suggested they could order after 7 if they wanted to sleep in and eat in their room. She said, "But we'll be awake by 6. We always are." I waited. She continued, "We just like having options." They complained to management that our breakfast hours were limiting their vacation experience. I managed a surf shop in Byron Bay when an American asked if we rented boards. We did. He asked how much. I said $30 for the day. He nodded and handed me his credit card. I asked if he wanted a wetsuit. He looked at the ocean. "It's summer. Why would I need a wetsuit?" I explained the water was around 22 degrees Celsius. He squinted. "I don't speak metric," I converted. "About 72 Fahrenheit. He relaxed. "That's warm. I'm good." Suggested he might want one anyway, since he'd be in the water for a while. He patted my shoulder. "Buddy, I'm from California. I know surf culture. This is nothing." He came back 40 minutes later, teeth chattering, and asked if we sold wetsuits. We did. He put it on over his still wet board shorts and went back out. He returned the board 3 hours later and said, "You guys have weak waves here." I told him it had been pretty flat all day. He'd just picked a bad day. He shook his head. "No, I mean the waves aren't aggressive enough. They're too relaxed. Even your ocean has no work ethic." I worked at a restaurant in Hobart when an American asked if we were hiring. I said we weren't at the moment. She asked if I was sure. I was sure. She handed me her resume anyway. Just in case something opens up. I'm a hard worker. I'm used to doing double shifts, 60-hour weeks, whatever it takes. I thanked her and said I'd keep it on file. She leaned in. I should mention, I don't take vacation days. I've never called in sick. I'm reliable. Told her that in Australia. We actually get 4 weeks of paid annual leave by law, plus sick days. She looked confused. But what if you don't use them? I said most people do use them. She blinked. That seems ... inefficient. I suggested that rest was actually pretty efficient for long-term productivity. She smiled politely, the way you smile at someone who doesn't understand basic economics. Sure, but real success comes from outworking everyone else. She never came back to check if we were hiring. The best one happened at a beach in Adelaide. I was a lifeguard on patrol when an American man set up a full office setup under an umbrella, laptop, portable monitor, keyboard, the works. This was a Tuesday afternoon in January, our hottest month. He had spreadsheets open. I walked over to check he was okay. It was 38 degrees Celsius. He was wearing business casual, sweating through his shirt, typing frantically. I asked if he needed water. He waved me off. "I'm good. Just finishing a presentation." Suggested he might be more comfortable at a cafe with air conditioning. He said, "I need to be near the ocean for inspiration, but I can't just sit here doing nothing. That's wasted time." I watched him for another hour. He never looked at the ocean once. His laptop overheated twice. He had to restart it both times. When he finally packed up, he walked to the water, stood ankle deep for 30 seconds, nodded like he'd completed a task, and left. A kid next to me asked if that man was okay. I said, "He's American. They're allergic to relaxation." Kid looked terrified. "Is it contagious?" I told him no, but he should probably avoid Starbucks just in case. The thing about these stories is they're never mean-spirited. Americans aren't wrong for valuing hard work. This is the nuanced, most cultural commentary channel's Masai don't punch down. I decode. If you're tired of lazy takes and want someone who actually thinks about why people behave the way they do, you're in the right place. Subscribers here aren't looking for outrage, they're looking for understanding. But watching someone spend their vacation working under a beach umbrella while their laptop overheats kind of makes you wonder if they've forgotten what all that work is supposed to be for. Maybe productivity isn't about doing. More, it's about actually enjoying the life you're working to. BUILD publish one of these cultural breakdown videos every week, not because I'm chasing an algorithm, but because I'm genuinely fascinated by how people from different places think they're living correctly. The people who subscribe, they're the ones who've figured out that understanding cultural differences is the cheat code to not taking life so seriously. Your move. Got more stories about cultural clashes that'll make you laugh and think? Drop a comment. And if you're American reading this, mate, take a day off. The emails can wait. The ocean can't.